But now, do you remember you were talking about, what's meant to be? There was very much a situation like that with Harry's passing.
Go on.
I only knew that he was going in for an operation a few days before he sent me a text. I thought, oh my God, I better give him a call. And then he called.
Yeah. He called you after you thought it. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
great.
I thought, well,
so that's nice little synchronicity.
Yeah, well, and I thought, well, that's, he doesn't usually call to talk about something, for himself like that. He's usually, so wrapped up, whatever else is going on.
He's got so many other people too.
Yeah, it's usually kind of to help you.
Yeah.
But he said, I'm going in for this operation. It's a heart valve operation, and I'm just hoping that you'll think of me and pray for me while I'm in the operation.
Oh, right.
And I think, but okay, it's a heart. The heart things are always serious, but this is a routine valve. They're doing it day in, day out.
Yeah.
And the percentage recovery is something like 98%.
Right.
It's almost guaranteed. But actually, Harry knew that he was one of the two. In fact, he even said, I'm one of the 2% to some people. And he got his family together on the Sunday morning and gave final instructions to his children about, how to look after the family and how things that, he hoped for them. He spoke to a whole bunch of people. He contacted friends, family, set up all his arrangements, arranged to pay a bunch of bills and things.
Yeah.
And then went into the hospital. And his wife said, I knew that when he went in there was no chance of him coming back.
Mm.
The operation was a straightforward success. But then there was complications. And it was bleeding in the stomach, then the liver, then something, in other organs. And the doctors said they had never experienced such a sequence of improbable complications. And it was like they were fighting against something that was meant to be. And the interesting thing was that there was about 100 people were there in the ICU with him on the Wednesday morning when he passed away.
Mm.
Because we got the call. I started driving down from here in Wales.
Mm.
I unfortunately was too late, but there was so many people praying for his welfare. So you might think, well, what happened to those prayers? And how did all those people who were praying for him see the value and the purpose and the process of their prayers in action? Mm. And actually, the interesting thing was when I got to the hospital, he passed away, and people were just kind of dealing with the aftermath of the immediate grief. And no one felt that their prayers hadn't been answered, because prayers where you ask for intercession, please help it, are always conditional on the bigger picture.
Yeah.
It's part of the picture. The prayers are part of the picture.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you should say, oh, there's a big picture, I shouldn't pray. No. Your prayers are part of the big picture.
Yes.
But they're not the whole of the big picture.
Yeah.
And it's not that just because
and
you're praying.
Part of the prayer,
they are.
Bigger picture.
But prayer is a way of sharing love.
Yes.
It's just another way of sharing love.
Yes.
And often it's a way of sharing love beyond what you can physically kind of reach.
Yeah.
So everyone could see, although they had prayed and prayed, but actually what they had been able to do is to create a kind of transcendental spiritual atmosphere, a sanctified state, where Harry was to leave his body. There was no doubt of that at that time.
Mm.
But he could have left his body alone, attached to tubes, but rather he left his body surrounded by his family and friends, all kind of with the spiritual vibration and the love that they had. And if you're to leave this world, why not leave it, in the way that, in a mood of pure love, which was the sort of life that he led. So his life led him to a moment of fulfillment, where he kind of has moved on. Mm. Now, when it comes to reviewing his life, what kind of contract do they put in?
If there is a review.
If there was a review, they just said, well, you just want to love. That's it. You know?
I mean, maybe I
Nothing
can
else?
just add something to this, because I don't want you or anyone else to get the wrong idea, Martin. I think there is propensity here to, to mix, if you like, bring together two concepts that don't necessarily, that are not necessarily mutually exclusive, but also do not conflict with each other. What I said earlier about the review, and it does resonate with me, is that this is not a review about, how much money you made or all the rest in your life, how successful you were. This is just looking at your life in a way that you, and only you, this is not being judged, can see where there were times when you withheld love, right? Okay. And whatever that means. And we don't need to put a label on it, right? And that's the review, and that's all I see. But it may go more than that for individuals, depending on their own circumstances. Because again, we still create our reality in the spirit world as well as in the physical world, right? But going back to the contract, which I was talking about, contract is not the great word, agreement, let's call it what it is. That is something that we say, right, okay, these are the experience I want to have. These are the people I want to meet. These are the people I want to interact with. And there has a lot of people talk about soul groups and people who are closely connected, over many lifetimes, and come back and even have same or similar relationships, family relationships, one with t'other, and so on. Now, I'm not saying that this is true, because I don't know from the level of what we know in a sense in a third dimensional reality, but certainly in a higher dimensional reality, I can see, potentially a lot of truth and a lot of sense in that.
No, I
just make really a lot of sense.
No, I believe it's absolutely true what you're saying.
Yeah.
No.
So, but what I'm saying is, I don't want people to think, well, I don't believe this because, whatever. It's like you've got to look outside the box.
If you accept the principle of transmigration or reincarnation,
right?
And many people do, but if you actually think, well, there's got to be something that takes, links this life with the previous, and what is it that links it? Is really this kind of summation of all your aspirations, desires, things not fulfilled, things to be fulfilled, it's all wound up together. Mm-hmm. And that creates a sort of programming, for your next life, which, your life will unfold, and it will involve meeting other persons for whatever reason, some new, some old friends, or old, you will make all those connections again. And how you react to that then creates another summary of that one to take you on further. I think the example you gave of the person who had a review of where he'd missed the opportunities of love is actually quite an elevated one. And I'm not sure that everyone is as lucky as that.
Okay.
I think you will find that a lot of people will simply be reviewing the ambitions that didn't get fulfilled because that's where their heart is. But if someone's heart is in giving love, then that will be the kind of the important part of their review of their life.
Yeah.
We ultimately all review life, according to what's important to us.
Yeah, I suppose what I'm saying
I've met some people who review their life and it may be some failed business thing that torments them. And that will be the summary that in the next life they'll have a chance to either have another go at the business or whatever. But if they're a little bit more sensitive, then they may actually understand the things that were important to me where I could have done better.
You see, one of the things, again, this is fascinating stuff. I think this is, again, a conversation where we've been to some extent before, but it's almost impossible to answer or to express the full extent of what we can say on the subject, except by doing it on separate and different levels, right? And I think what you're talking about, or my perception of what you're talking about, let's say the failed business situation, want to come back. That's looking at it for me quite in a sort of fairly limited perspective around the material.
Yeah, but I'm saying that exists for some people.
The material human level, right?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, though, in a sort of spiritual sense, if you like, in terms of a spiritual review, quote unquote, none of that matters. None of it matters. You know, the only thing that matters is love.
I know, but that's because you've reached a stage where you appreciate that what matters, and you know that may be, and I think that's right, because I think that's in tune with how the universe and how God sees the world.
Yeah.
You know, and
but that's not just me. I mean, I think that's a universal thing.
No, but we're making a judgment, and it's a faith, and this is where faith, I suppose, comes into it, that view that love is the thing that God cares about, and therefore the more we care about it, the closer we are to a spiritual sense of reality.
And we're making that assumption.
We're making that assumption.
Yeah.
And I reckon that's actually quite a good assumption, because you know, we're not the first ones to think of that.
So do I.
And I think that many people have achieved wonderful kind of, you know, states of bliss and kindness and, you know, love, you know.
It's like you were saying earlier with acts of kindness. I mean, in a sense, acts of kindness are a relatively small example in a big whole.
Yes.
But the thing about acts of kindness, you know, is that it's that feeling. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can think of times when you've, you know, shared something or given something, whether it's close family or it doesn't matter who, or the times you've shared with Harry, something like that. It's that feeling inside, or wow, you know, it's almost indescribable, isn't it? And it, you know, I'm not labeling it as love or anything, but I'm saying it's that feeling that you get from you know, it's really uplifting and it's stimulating to say, yeah, you know, I've you know, I mean, you know, he helping an old lady across the road. It sounds like a cliche, but it's a very good metaphor for what we can do in life.
Random acts.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, and to feel good about it, you know. And I mean, I gave up my seat on the tube the other day for an old lady, and I think, well, so what, you know? But it made me feel good, you know. It really made me feel good. Now you could say, well, that's sort of, you know, self-centered, but it's not. You know, there's more to it.
No,
than that,
I mean,
you know?
the point is when bhakti breaks through a little bit, or you know, it actually feels good.
Yeah,
bhakti
exactly.
feels great. Actually, it is the ultimate high.